So for those of you who are brand new, I just want to make sure you know what to do every week. So at 7 a.m., and this is for everyone watching the replay as well, at 7 a.m. Adelaide time on every single Tuesday morning, there's a post that grows up automatically in this group. It looks like this, looks like that. Got a question for this week's Zoom call. Yeah. So every Tuesday morning that is in the group. Go to the group and find it, or if you happen to miss your notification. But that is where in the comments section you can put any question that you've got. And then you need to be on the call that night for me to answer you, right? So I obviously don't prioritize people that aren't actually on the call. But that's the now, if you're new here tonight and you didn't know about this and you had no idea you had to post your question before you got here, it's perfectly fine. If you do have a question, do me a favor, put it in the chat box, and I will get to you as soon as I can. But typically questions go here, and it allows me to see what questions we've got before we get here, so that we have time to get through more questions, and it prevents you having to explain the whole question because I've already got it typed out. So then we get through more questions again. Yeah. So Bernadette, hi Sylvie, nice to put a face to a name. I know we've been texting today. Welcome to this program. All right, where are you, Bernadette? I've lost you. Hang on. Oh, yeah, there you are. All right, let me just change the view here and go to speak view. And where are you? All right, Miss Bernadette, how are you, darling? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, yep. Just talk. Let me see if I can hear you.
Okay.
Wait, say something again.
Hello.
Oh, yep. Gotcha. Cool. Okay, good to see you. So, I read what you're saying. So basically you have a 5-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son, and your 5-year-old daughter basically is just a very talkative, chatty, asks a lot of questions, says a lot of things, and her brother deems a lot of things that she says to be dumb and stupid,
Annoying.
and annoying. And then he has quite negative and, let's say, down-putting responses to her. And then it causes arguments, especially in the car and at the dinner table. Have I got that pretty much in a nutshell? Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so here's the thing. There's two things to do here. Number one, with your daughter, and number two, with your son. First of all, I'm going to say with your son, I want you to have a conversation, because these give us the best opportunities to teach our kids about life. And as part of life, we want, as a conscious parent, we want to raise a conscious children who are self-aware. Okay. And we want our children to know that, all their power is within them, and to not outsource their power. Okay. Now, and that you don't get your power back by controlling the world around you. So this is the best opportunity to open a discussion. And 11 years old couldn't be a more perfect age as well, because they do have an awareness and they're more mature and things like that, right? It helps when they get to 11, just for all of you out there listening, like start seeding your children with, start seeding their minds and planting these little seeds from 4 years old. And by the time they get to 11 and they're, it's necessary to have this kind of conversation with them, if their mind has been seeded hundreds of times over the last, 5 years or whatever, then this conversation goes even better. And I know, Bernadette, you haven't been able to do that, because, you've only just started in this program and whatever, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. So first of all, we don't want to just stop the problem, right? And this is what conscious parenting is about. It's about choosing, choosing the problem sometimes, because as parents, I think we're very wired and very programmed to just want to get rid of anything that's just annoying and the kids fighting, and just how do we stop it? And we kind of have these reactive responses that get us and our kids in bad habits, because in the moment we just want to get rid of it, right? So first of all, with you, and just to preface to everybody, I work privately with Bernadette as well, so I know her very deeply. We've been working privately together for 5 or 6 months now. 6 months, I think it is. Anyway, gosh, that's gone quick. But I want to say this to you. I want you, like, kind of off the back of our messages that we had today around expectations, right? So first of all, I want you to choose to have these problems a little bit so that when they show up, it's not like, oh, not this again. And you already come at it with an energy that doesn't serve the situation. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I want you to go, do you know what? I'm not living a life anymore where I'm just trying to put out flames and, put out fires and put out fires and get rid of problems. I want to actually show up in my life. And in this instance, I want to show up as a mother, as a conscious mother. And I want to use all of these opportunities to prepare my children to do life without me. So that by the time, they are 14 and above, like I basically parenting is over for me. Other than being there as a support person, I don't need to govern their decisions. They've learned how to tune into their own intuition. They've learned how to make conscious choices. They've learned how to be self-aware. And that means that at 14, 3 years from now, I can literally step back a bit and I can be here to love them and guide them and support them, but I don't really have to parent them. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to choose that it's okay to have these problems instead of just to break that cycle in the reaction of, oh my gosh, this shit does my head in and I just want to scream. I get that it's exhausting, right?
Mm.
Now, the reason I say that is because the conversation I want you to have with Bowen is around completely separately, not in front of Ayla at all, like in his room or when you and him are having some time, and completely at an unrelated time so that there's no emotional charge in this conversation, which will help it make it feel safer for him to sit and hear you and absorb it. You also, in that conversation, being aware of yourself, that you're not setting another expectation that just because now you've talked about it, it will be different. His mind needs to be seeded multiple times. This is how the subconscious mind is programmed, seeded with, the ideas and perspectives multiple times before it becomes his default his default thought of his own. Does that make sense? So don't go into this with, just because I've had a conversation, I expect that none of this shows up again. It's a habit, and he's using deflection, like for his own triggers, right? So the lesson for Bowen here is, hey, mate, like I wanted to have a chat with you about how you and I could be like a bit of a team with Ayla. So first of all, I want you to put him in a bit of a leadership role. And I'm actually really keen to hear how Bowen responds to this, right? In terms of, hey, like I would love for you to help be like a bit of a coach for Ayla. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you realize you're basically double her age, and she looks up to you so much. And anything you say, because you are like her idol, you're her brother, and she just loves you, anything you say, she really takes to heart. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but something that I want to work on with Ayla is building her true self-esteem and how she feels about herself. And what that means is you and I, so don't just put it on him, just make it an us conversation, right?
Yeah.
You and I, we need to increase our own tolerance for the fact that we have this beautiful little girl in our family that talks a lot of things, that never shuts up, that, you can make it a bit fun here, that asks a million questions, that makes a million comments. And that's part of who she is. And in our family, I would never want to squash that. I want you to be who you are. And I would love for you, because I know how much she looks up to you, to help me make it feel safe for her to be herself. So that means so you make it like a let's coach each other. This is like something between you and me. If ever you hear me say something to Ayla that kind of tells her to be quiet or stop asking questions, or I put her down, or I make her feel like she's not important, maybe, but like you can make like a little code or a little nudge or something like that. Or maybe just, just I want you to mention it to me because I want to be better. And if you ever do the same to her, I'll do the same for you. So all you're really doing here is getting permission to pull him up in the moments without exposing him and hitting his self-esteem, which I also know is low from what your kids have been through. Okay, you understand? So what you'll end up doing after this conversation is, all you need in these moments is what's called a pattern interrupt. So when he's like, Ayla, shut up and stop asking dumb questions, you're so stupid, or that's such a stupid question, or something like that, you can just go, hey, Bowen, and you can just do your little like, this is what we mean, something like that. Or, Bowen, would there be a nicer way for you to say that? And you're giving me a little thing. And then he's like, oh, that's right. So give him a leadership role to play so that the focus isn't necessarily on what to get him to stop doing, because low self-esteem needs to defend itself and needs to prove why it's right and why she's wrong, right? And so that's not going to work for him while he's got low self-esteem, right? Later on, we can do it a whole different way. We can pull him up and be like, dude, that is so not okay. And if you don't have helpful, things to say that uplift our family, then those comments are just completely unnecessary. They aren't allowed, and I won't tolerate that kind of language in this house. But right now, you can't go at him like that, because the last thing he needs is to feel like he's wrong, and to feel like that he will receive that as though you are sticking up for Ayla, and now and you said he already gets pretty triggered by that, right? So let him be a coach and say, look, I know that I say some things to Ayla sometimes, and by the way, I know I say it to you too sometimes, and I am wanting to improve, and I want you to be my coach. And being a coach is different from being a boss. Okay, so coaches influence and inspire, those that they lead. Bosses demand, from people they lead typically. So help him know the difference between different styles of leadership. Don't be my boss. This isn't a free green light for you to start telling me what to do, or, kind of back chatting, or kind of saying something that he has power over you with. So let's be each other's coach, and let's just give each other feedback, because between us, I think that one of the reasons that Ayla does do all this and does talk a lot and does ask a lot is because Ayla has her own thoughts and her own problems with how she feels like she fits into our family. And she's always looking for a way to feel like people love her, or the intention is on her, or that somehow she's being heard and she's being seen. And that's all this really is. She doesn't really need the answers to those questions. What she's doing is she's looking for a chance to connect with you, to connect with me, but we're not available for her connection because we both can't be bothered listening to all this stuff all the time. So energetically, she feels that, which means when she tries to get the attention, it doesn't actually fill up her little attention bucket. But if we could fill up that attention bucket with positive things and different responses, then she's more likely to feel better about herself, and therefore not need to know where she fits into this family, because she already knows that she truly belongs and she feels like she does. And that's how we'll get what we need, right? So a conversation like that, first of all, get him on side at being a coach for you. Give him permission to give you coaching, and tell him we have to be respectful to each other. We don't say things in front of Ayla. We give each other whatever little nudges or little, taps under the table, or maybe later on we go, hey, Mum, I just wanted to say that what you said to Ayla before was a little bit harsh, and you probably came across a bit angry. And then you need to be, did I really? Oh my gosh, thank you. Gosh, I love you being my coach. Honestly, I'm so thankful for you telling me this. I would have completely missed that. You are literally such a good coach. So he needs validation, and he needs to know that he has permission to tell you anything. And so long as he says it respectfully and he doesn't start to be bossy with it, he's truly wanting to be a coach, that he will never be in trouble for telling you what you need to improve at.
Yep.
And that automatically gives you permission to be that back to him. So now there's full open lines of communication and permission. And so with permission comes safety, which means when you're telling him and giving him feedback, like, hey, this isn't necessary. You just don't need to say this, right? Or say it like that. Instead of him going to fight or flight and defense mode and going into his reptilian brain, because it feels safe, he'll remain in his mammalian brain, right? Does that part there make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Step 2, then talk to him about, how I work with Holly, right? And I've been working with Holly lots of months now. And one of those reasons is I'm really enjoying learning about myself and why I do things that I do, why I think how I think, why I feel how I feel sometimes, why I have reactions that I have. It's been amazing to learn. Do you know what? I reckon, I absolutely know that I could teach some of this stuff to you. Like, you are such an intelligent, bright boy, that the stuff I'm learning as like a 40-year-old adult, you could learn as an 11-year-old child. Would you like me to teach you some of that? So one of the things is learning about something called triggers, and do the whole, have you heard of that word before? So basically what happens is something goes on inside of us and somebody else. So we have a wound, a part of us that we don't feel good about ourselves about something, or we don't like ourselves about something, or maybe we've been in trouble for something before that maybe wasn't even wrong, but we've been taught that it's wrong, and all these things. And you can say, I've made mistakes with you. There's absolutely some things that I wish I did differently if I had have known what I know now. Okay. So there's no secret that some things I could have done better, which means some of the things that I've done as your parent may have created little wounds for you that now get triggered by Ayla, for example. Right? So have this very transparent discussion with him and use the word trigger so that you can teach him what a trigger is, and that triggers can only trigger something that already exists. So how about you and I, let's do every 3 days, we'll do a check-in with each other. So every Wednesday night and every Sunday night or something like that, we'll have little check-ins, and let's coach each other on our, let's just be aware, and we can have a chat about our triggers. So, like, just be aware, anything Ayla does, anything I do that like triggers you, meaning like you feel like you want to say things like, you make me angry, you're so annoying. What the truth is, I'm feeling angry by what you did, but you didn't make me feel that. Or, not like you're annoying. I'm feeling annoyed by what you're doing. It's not you. What is it in me that's being triggered that I then project that onto you as though it's your fault? And instead of me managing my trigger and learning how to ask my body and my intuition what's going on for me in those moments, instead, I want to blame and deflect it onto someone else and tell someone else to stop their behavior, rather than me growing and expanding to the point where I don't need you to change your behavior because it doesn't trigger me anymore. You can do this with him, like literally right now. And it would be amazing for you to do that, to also reinforce all the work that we're doing privately as well. When you have to teach that to your son and you kind of expose yourself, if you like, which kind of means you have to be even more aware of yourself, because he's going to pick you up on that in a very respectful way, and it will deepen your connection. Because these, you can also share something like this with Ayla too, by the way, but not on the same level, and it will make Bowen feel like he's got something from you that she doesn't get to have right now. Okay, like in terms of like this conversation, because everything that you've explained is sibling rivalry. But he is being annoyed, and he's already starting to deflect any feeling that he doesn't like. It has to be someone else's fault that I'm feeling this, rather than, why am I feeling this? Like, honestly, why am I being annoyed? Like, and I've done this with lots of parents. I've worked with so many parents in this program who are like, my kid just eats so loud at the table. They can't sit still. They have to swing their legs and they have to sing and hum, and, and I'm like, hey, how do I get my kid to stop being happy at the dinner table? I'm like, there is no problem with your child. There is a problem with you. And you need to actually ask yourself, why is a child's happiness, why is a child's singing and humming and freedom and, they're in their free little self? The real question is not how do you shut that down? How do you open your heart so that you can see that as a beautiful thing? You go, I love sitting at the dinner table with my kids. They're humming, they're singing, like we all just get along. Like it's just beautiful. Like they just, she's off in her own little world, swinging her legs under the chair, and, she does her own little thing. But it's beautiful to, see that my kids are always giggling and laughing. Other people come to me like, how do I get my kids to stop laughing so much at the dinner table? They're always mucking around and laughing. I'm like, you're asking me to help you get your children not to be happy. How about we work on you and you increase your capacity to change the filter that you see this through, so that you invite happiness and laughter, even if that means we're mucking around a bit at the table. Because this is just coming from programmed belief systems, probably from your 1940s parents who said you should sit still and use your manners at the dinner table. And the only way that you're using your manners is sitting like a straight, little schoolgirl that's, being good. So sometimes it's shifting perspectives. The kids aren't doing anything wrong. We have our own wounds and we can't tolerate their happiness because it highlights our resentfulness. Yeah. So bring all these conversations in, and first of all, talk to Bowen about being your coach. Second of all, talk to him about the concept of triggers. Don't expect him to get it straight away. But then in a little moment, you can be like, hey, Bowen, remember the conversation we had? The trigger. You can even say this in front of, the trigger conversation. This is what I mean. See this right now? Like, you're not in trouble or anything. And feel free to point out when you think I'm being triggered too. So be on it, be a team together. So it's not you versus him. It's you and him versus the problem, which in this case is Ayla. Okay. But there's nothing right now that needs to be done really to Ayla, other than you can say, Ayla, the way that you handle her when she's just getting too much, and you can see Bowen has tried, and you're like, okay, it's enough now. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
How you do that, and this is in the third pillar of the program. It's a third pillar. I think it's a third pillar. Could be the second. There is a video called "Do you want to win at arguing or do you want to win at parenting?" You need to watch that video. Wherever you're up to, fast forward, find that video, and then come back and finish where you're up to. Like, keep going from where you're up to. But go and watch, do you want to win at arguing or do you want to win at parenting? All of you out there that have children that back chat or that have an answer for everything or that ask a billion questions or that won't take no for an answer, there's a way for you to approach them consciously without killing their spirit, without crushing their character, right? And so what you would say to Ayla in this example is, Ayla, do you know what? Do you know something I love about you? I love how you are just such a curious little girl. You've always got a question to ask. Your little mind is always wondering about how things work, or I love your imagination. It can imagine things that are just so magical. Like, my brain can't stretch like your brain does. I love that about you. I love that you always want to know more. But can we do these questions after dinner? Yeah, I love that you are always curious to know things. Right now, we're eating dinner. I'd love to have a different conversation. And right now, answering questions is something that is feeling a bit hard for me and a bit exhausting. Can we sit here? Now, here's the thing. Again, this is in the third pillar, and it comes under building family solidarity. Okay. So when you get to that pillar in the program, I teach you what to do at the dinner table. The dinner table is where you can build the most solid foundation that is unbreakable with your children. That no matter what goes on in their lives, as they become teenagers, as they get busy and have their own lives, that you will always be in touch with what's going on in their life because of the environment you create around the dinner table, right? And I even give you specific questions. We call them like daily conversations to have at the dinner table. And then I talk about family meetings that I suggest everyone does once a week, that I did every week growing up with my kids. I don't do them every week now, but they were the foundation that we built everything on. And now, if we need a family meeting and I call one, guys, we're having a family meeting this Sunday, there's a few things we need to discuss about, just to improve how we're all living together. I've noticed a few things around the house and I just want to have so just giving you all a heads up, if there's any topics you want to bring to the family meeting, we're all going to sit down as a family and we're having an open discussion on Sunday afternoon. And they're like, okay, like they have no, like, because they've done it all their lives, there's no like, what's the meeting about? Shit, am I in trouble now? What have I done wrong? There's none of that. They're like, cool, I'll bring some topics too. And I'm like, hey, everyone's getting pretty slack on putting the bins out. I know you're all doing dinner cleanup, but part of dinner cleanup is putting the bins out. And I've noticed, since it's dark outside now and it's not daylight savings, everyone's conveniently forgetting the bins. And there's towels being left, in the bathroom. So these are just small things, but I want everyone to put their attention back on making sure the small things get done. That's the end of our conversation. And everyone's attention is back on it, right? Which actually reminds me, I probably need to call a family meeting. Literally some issues going on right now. So go to the third pillar and watch these things, because here's your next thing. If this happens a lot in the car and at the dinner table, the biggest principle here with all of this, and the same with Bowen, isn't just to get him to, it's not about focusing on what you want to get him to stop doing. You want Ayla to stop talking and Bowen to stop yelling at her. It's about what they can do instead. So replacing the behavior always works better than trying to do the behavior. Okay. So in the car and at dinner time, if you don't want, a little 5-year-old asking 5 billion questions, then have something else to do, because she just looks for space And if there's any space in a conversation and you're not taking it, then she'll take it up. And why not, right? So if you're more intentional with the kinds of conversations we have at the dinner table, and you have some specific questions that you ask all the time or whatever, and it explains it all in the third pillar, then in these moments you can go, Ayla, I love how curious you are and how your little mind wonders about so many things. But dinner time is not the space for this conversation. I tell you what, we're going to have our family conversation, but what you're asking is important to me and I want to give you answers. So after dinner, while Bowen's cleaning up or while Bowen's in the shower, how about me and you deal with these questions? How about you keep these questions and you ask me and I'll give you my whole attention to answer them. So she still feels like her needs get met. She's probably not even going to have half those questions after dinner. She's probably going to have 2, not 200. And it meets everybody's needs. She feels like she's going to be heard. Bowen feels like he doesn't have to sit there listening to it right now. And he can see that moment that you step in to redirect it rather than him jumping in, just telling her she's annoying, because you don't want her growing up with that message in her brain all the time either from her big brother or from anyone. And then and then you can replace what's happening here. So if you go into dinner time and into cars intentionally, so for example, the car, what I suggest to most people, sing in the car. You are a singer, right? So in the car, make it about singing. Make it about, all right, we take in turns, everyone chooses a song. Okay, Ayla, your turn first today. What song do you want? And how you get her to stop talking is by getting her to sing, because while she's singing, she's not thinking about talking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then when her song's finished, like, Bowen, what song do you want to play? And then you choose a song. And then wherever you're driving, everyone just keeps choosing songs, right? Or you play games or something like that, right? Dinner table, be specific with asking questions about their day and not just like, how was your day? In the program, in the third pillar, there's specific questions to ask.
Yeah.
Family dinner conversations and for family meetings, which family meetings I suggest once a week. Dinner conversations, like daily conversations, are every day or anytime you sit down for a meal, to the point where when my kids have friends over, they're part of it. We don't change our dinner conversations. When their boyfriends come over, when my mom or dad or any of you come to my house, if you're doing dinner with my family, we're not changing for you. We're going to do our dinner conversation and you're going to be part of it. And you're going to share with everybody what was the favorite part of your day and what was the challenging part of your day today. And how did you handle your challenge? They're just the basic questions. I mean, I used to mix them up a lot more. We do a lot for Zach now. Zach has autism and he likes to do the same questions all the time, and that's okay, because we get to hear about when kids run away from him at school today, or when they were playing chasey and everybody kept getting him it and stuff like that. It's an opportunity where the child doesn't have to find the courage to come to you and tell you about a burden they're carrying. The space is already available and it just easily comes out.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And Shara is saying, yes, there is still the soul parenting program. 100% the soul parenting program would be amazing here, but I'm not going to get you to do that, Bernadette, only because of the private coaching we're doing, and you've got a lot on your plate at the moment. Don't take on another program right this second. But all of this stuff, if anyone's listening to this and this is really resonating and you're like, oh, I'm hungry for this, I have a whole nother program called the soul parenting program. I do not promote that program because I think it really should only be done once you've become a conscious parent. Otherwise, it will, it's a very confronting program, okay? Any of your trauma that you're carrying, that you're projecting onto your children, that program is going to address. It's very deep work, and you have to be ready to do that kind of work on yourself. Otherwise, it'll probably create more trauma for you. It won't actually, but yeah, it will be very emotional and very heavy. So for those of you who feel ready, at any time, reach out to me, ask about the soul parenting program. It's $1,000 to do that program. And if you have questions in that program, you can bring any question here onto these Zoom calls, and I'll answer questions from any of the programs on these calls. Yep. For you, Bernadette, I can give you some soul level parenting stuff when we do our private coaching anyway. But yeah, this is the kind of work it is. But start teaching Bowen about triggers and wounds, and be made. And even when he comes home and talks about his friends or whoever it might be, the teacher made me do this and she just made me, okay, so this is just I can see you're feeling triggered and you have every right to feel how you're feeling. Anyone in your situation would feel like this. All these sentences are in the fourth pillar of the program under emotional well-being and trauma. But then you go and, hey, and I'm here to support you and I am going to help you with this. But as well as looking at what your friend just did, as well as me going and talking to the teacher about what the teacher just did, I just want you to gently look at what's happening for you here too. So you'll be able to have all these little moments thousands of times before he's ready to go do life by himself. And by then, guess how he's going to automatically think? Like, what's going on? I'm not just going to project this onto my girlfriend or my flatmate or my, like I'm the one being triggered here. What's going on for me that this is getting me so pissed off?
Yeah.
And that's what you want your children to be able to, see life through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to stop Ayla other than having something else to do. It's not about telling her what not to do. It's telling her what to do.
Yeah.
Let's do something else at the dinner table. And if you've got those questions, she just wants to engage. Like she's just for engagement. And if you've got,
I guess it's,
go ahead.
Yeah, we do stuff like just play I Spy.
Yeah.
And then he will crack the shits about how she's playing it and stuff like that as well. And then she cries like a lot.
Right.
So it's for in that instance when she's getting that upset as well. Like even when I'm just comforting her and kind of just going, yeah, mate, that's enough or whatever.
Yep.
I'm comforting her and he sort of even sees that as.
Yeah. So what you can do here is you can break that up and you go, Ayla, you can tell, hey, guys, stop. Bowen, I know you had no intention for her to, I know this wasn't your intention, and I know you do your best to tolerate what you can, okay? You're not in trouble. Ayla, I see you're hurting and you have every right to feel hurt. Everyone has full permission to feel how they feel in this family, okay?
Yeah.
I am going to give you a hug and I am going to give you some comfort, but you also need to understand that it was not Bowen's intentions to hurt your heart like you're feeling. Yeah. So that all he needs to know is he's not in trouble and you're not like on her side. Hey, that doesn't, just because you didn't mean it doesn't mean her feelings aren't being hurt. And, just because I'm being, over here helping her doesn't mean you're in trouble or you did something wrong. And then you bring in, not just yet, it'll be a bit too much to all do at once, but then you bring in, like once they start doing this, is you can get to a point, third pillar again, where you say, guys, stop. You know what? I'm not getting involved here. Okay. I know that you both have the ability to work this out. So I'm going to leave you guys for 5 minutes and you're going to sit with each other and have a conscious conversation. And I want you to work out how you can both get what you want. How you are both very good at finding solutions. I think you're better than me. I'm not going to help here. You know why? I don't believe I need to. I know that you two have the ability to communicate effectively with each other and to compromise in a way that both people can get their needs met. So I'm going to leave. I'll be back in 5 minutes. If you need help with this conversation, I will help you when I come back. But sit here and work out how can we both get what we need. That's one of the questions you always want to plant in their mind. Again, later on in life, when they're going for jobs or anything, they're already in like, how can we both get what we want? Like, what do we both need here? Not always fighting for their way all the time and completely dismissing somebody else's experience. Yeah? Good. Amazing. Shelley, darling, I just saw that you wrote, so many people in this program have done the soul parenting program. And I do a big intake of the soul parenting program so let me quickly explain this just because it's being asked. The soul parenting program, if you want to know it, you can go to the website, holyeffect.com, click on parenting, then click on soul parenting and read what it's about. It is I call this program Parenting 101, okay? Like how to make your kids do this, how to get them to listen, how to use different words, like how to basically control their behaviors, basically, right? In a more effective way. Soul parenting program has nothing to do with changing their behavior, nothing. So I call this Parenting 101. And the soul parenting program, I call that parenting 2.0, whole nother level, looking at everything from a soul perspective, from a karmic journey perspective, and not just looking at how do I change my kids' behavior, looking at like what goes on for me when my child shows up with that kind of behavior? How do I, our children, their role in our life is to call us forwards into our higher level, our own higher levels of consciousness. And so everything about our children can be used as roadmaps for us as inroads to ourselves. And so, it's very big on trauma and breaking generational cycles and looking at even your child's behaviors from a soul perspective. What is their soul looking for in this behavior? Not just how do I get rid of this behavior? So it is a very deep program. And you can do payment plans on it. What happens is you buy the program and you do get access to a Facebook group that's specifically for the soul parenting program. There's a lot of homework in the soul parenting program. Okay, there's a lot of homework. So you do one module and then there's a homework to do. And then you do the second module and then there's homework to do. So there's 6 modules in that program. Now, once a year and soon, in about, like I normally do it after Mother's Day, like maybe June, I run that program, and I will again this year. I run that program with coaching, which I just add the coaching to it for free. Okay, the coaching's not really part of that program. You get a lot of support from the Facebook group, and you're welcome to start it now if you want or whatever. But what I'll do is I give coaching every fortnight only. And I do it like over 10 weeks. So what happens is you watch, like we do the first module kind of together, and we do 1 week covering the content, and then 1 week you do the homework. And then the second module next week is like the module 2, and then you'll do the second week homework for module 2. So you have 1 week to watch the videos, and the videos are, somewhere between 40 minutes and an hour long. You can pause them in between, but there's only, 1 or 2 videos, but they're big, deep videos. All right. And then you do your homework. So we kind of do two weeks per module, and then I do a call at the end of the 2 weeks so I can help you. What are your questions? What came up for you? It's if you go into that Facebook group once you join the program, because it's a private group, you scroll through the videos, every video you see people crying, doing their homework, reading out their letters and stuff like that they had to do really deep soul work. And the reason I do that around June-ish, around about May, June, July, depending each year, it's a little bit different, but around there is for those of you that want to come to the Happy to Whole retreat, the healing retreat, which is all about your trauma, your generational cycles, all that stuff that I do in October. Come and spend 3 days with me in person. It leads into that event so that you can get more out of that retreat, because the deeper work, the more that we've cleared from you online, the deepest work we can possibly do online. It means that when you get there, you don't have to do that work. And on that weekend, we can go even deeper. But if you hadn't already done that work, that's okay. Lots of people come to the retreat without doing the program, by the way. But it just means you're just a few steps ahead and can get more out of that retreat if you have the possibility to do it. All right. So you're welcome to join at any time. And even if you join now, if you're feeling really called to it, if you join now, and then I end up doing like the coaching, let's say, first week of June or something, you're welcome to join that coaching at that time. Like I backdate the coaching to anyone who's joined since the last time I did coaching. So it's not like you miss out on it. All right. Does that make sense, Shel? Is that what yeah? Yeah, I told you last week, right? I'm like, I need to plant a seed. You bloody have to come to Happy to Whole. And now here you are, like resonating with this information, going, what's this program? So it's all the more validation for you. Okay. You're definitely ready for this deep work for sure. All right. It's confronting. It's not comfortable, to the point where lots of people start it and don't finish it, which is fine. It shows you where your limit is. And then you come to Happy to Whole. They're like, I started and I got to the 3rd one, and it just like, I was scared to look at some of that stuff, and that's okay. It's great. What a perfect way to start the retreat. We know where your edges are, and I can now make it safe for you over this 3-day weekend to journey with you into those things that you normally will avoid like the plague in your life. But that changes how you show up as a conscious parent and the energetic space you have available for your kids. Yeah? Cool. And I'm just giving you that up front so that if you don't end up doing if you join it and you don't do every single module, don't feel bad about yourself. It's okay. Lots of people don't. And then they go back to it after the retreat, and it's amazing. All right. So Oh, Piper starts the conversation by asking the fave part of it. That's what Zach does. Zach's like, are we doing favorite and challenging? He calls it favorite and challenging is what he calls it, because we do favorite part in the challenging part of your day. All right, Sylvie, let me find you on the screen here. Oh. Is Sylvie still here? No? Did she drop off? Oh, no, there you are. Let me unmute your line.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
I'm
Okay.
pretty new to the whole thing, so
You are. This is like your first call ever, right? And let me just clarify. Did you just do the coaching package or are you in the program as well?
no, I just the $30
$30.
monthly thing. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I just like to know so that I know, like I can refer to the program. If you're not in the program, then I don't expect that you know that stuff. That makes sense when I'm answering your question. So I love that you know about, cholerics and phlegmatics and things like that. You said that your 12-year-old girl is a phlegmatic personality type. So she's very chilled and laid back. And, that's right. She's just like,
Avoiding conflict
exactly.
and doing things just to the last minute, or when there really pressure's on, or if she wants to, let's say it that way. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And you said she loves language, like her love language, hugs and cuddles. But basically, anytime you ask her to do something, it's like she's using cuddles as a power play, you mentioned. Like in terms of anything you ask her to do, she wants something from you first. She wants a hug first. Like, can I have a hug first and then I'll do it? And I totally love you're like, I don't want to say no to a hug, but at the same time, she's kind of using hugs in a way that isn't really just for love, right? Because I hear you completely. So
I must add, it's not every time, but a lot when it comes to certain things, or it's a certain situation that she doesn't want to do it.
okay.
Then she asks for that, and sometimes she says, oh well, I need a hug to do that, like I need some energy to do that, right? So she plays around with that.
Right. Okay. So here's can you give me just a little bit more information? But what I feel like I want to say here, but I want to wait to hear what your answer is first, is I've got a very strong intuition here that touch is not her love language. But share with me why you think hugs and cuddles or touch is her love language. What else does she respond to that makes you go, I know that's her love language? Is it just the fact that she always asks for it and that's what makes you think it's her love language?
No, in general, she needs the touch or the connection, or
Okay.
if she could choose, I think we had that conversation as well. If she could choose one of those, she would go for a hug than for a compliment, let's say.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
And so yeah, she really needed me till even recently that I sit still on the bed for going to sleep, things like that. So I listened to one of your webinars where you mentioned that there is something with leaving the energy when you go as a parent from the bedroom.
Mhm.
And we have phases where it was okay, phases where it's not. And I think with the 12-year-old, she just turned 12 a few weeks ago, where she is so in between. On the one hand side, she's a bit childish and wants to not let go from her childhood. On the other hand, she wants to be a little bit the grown girl.
Yeah, I hear you.
Grade 6.
I have a
And
12-year-old too. I definitely hear you.
so I struggle with those contrasts and what needs there are,
Yes.
and where to give her the space, and when she needs it, that, and what is real and what is a power game.
Got it. Okay. Here's what I want to do. I just want to plant the seed just for you to have in the back of your mind. You don't have to go out making this the focus. I want you to have in the back of your mind that I want you to be open to the fact that touch isn't her love language, which is why no matter how much touch she gets, it's like it's never enough, right? She could always want more. It doesn't truly fulfill her to the point where she's sustained by it. Does that make sense? Like where she's absolutely at peace and isn't craving any more of it. And with what you say about, how she, she's all touchy and things like that, but also how like she likes you to sit on her bed, all of these things, that could be quality time love language. That in quality time, there's like two different kinds of quality time. And one of those quality times is just being in each other's presence and being together. Like me and you could sit beside each other and, do some coloring and we didn't even talk or anything, but just because we were doing it together, it felt like quality time. We could both sit down and watch TV and not talk to each other, watch a movie, but that felt like quality time to that person. Another one, which potentially could be her, is quality time through, but the way that they get the connection that they crave isn't just through being next to each other, it's through conversation. That the conversation has to be connective conversation in order for them to get that need met, right? And I just have a suspicion, obviously I don't even know you and I barely know your daughter, but from what you've said, I already feel like we definitely just at least have to be open to that. Now, I want to encourage you, if it's possible, for you to look at doing the program, only because the first part of it is all on love languages. And what it would do is give you a roadmap. So I break down 3 things that you've got to look out for in your children to confirm what their love language is. And I think you were on the webinar where I explained that there's what's called like the authentic love language and the adaptive love language, right? Where they appear like there's something, but they've had to adapt their behaviors to become that, to get their needs met in some way. Maybe back when they were 5 or 6 and you didn't even know you didn't know any different, and it's just become a habit and a way of being now, right? And a way of relating to you. So there's something called the I'm sorry language you need to look out for, and you need to look out for what's like what makes her feel unloved, because our love language, the language that we receive love through, is also the language that we feel the most violated through. And it's also the language that we will use when we are looking to kind of make amends, when we feel like we've done something wrong, when we feel a bit guilty. Our own love language is what we naturally will use to try to make that connection with somebody. So you've got to look at all of these things across the board and you will see patterns and consistencies. And it doesn't mean that sometimes every single one of us as humans, like I'm not a gifts person, but that doesn't mean that if I knew that I hurt your feelings, that I wouldn't buy you some flowers or something, right? Like it doesn't mean that I wouldn't use that language, but it's not what you would see coming from me naturally if you looked at, 3 months of my life and watched what happened every time. Does that make sense? And just as a statistic, I did this, and look, I haven't done this figure in the last 2 years, but in the first 4 years of developing all this content and putting it out to the world and everything, I did track the figures for 4 years, and 86% of people who joined the program who thought they knew their kids' love, not including the parents that had no idea what love languages were. Only the people that have I think I know my child's love language, I've read the book, I've done some work on it, all that. 86%, so 8.5 out of every 10 people that came thinking they knew their kids' love language had it wrong. And the second that we got it right, everything changed. Like their whole parenting, the whole responsiveness from the child, everything changed. So I want you to just be open to that. If it's possible for you to do the program, soon or whatever, whenever you can, keep that in mind, so that you can really get that. Because I feel like if you are accidentally and unintentionally missing her love language, and if you think it is touch and it's not, then I don't want to scare you with this, but you have a small window of opportunity before. So without going too crazy, are you, if I go into a bit of a spiritual conversation here, are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
A spiritual
Big time, yeah. But quickly, what program do you mean? Do you mean the soul program that you just mentioned?
No, this the conscious parenting program. That's where you do that language, right? Not soul parenting program. That's totally separate. Do that after.
All right. Yeah.
But if you want to do deep soul work, the best place to do that is 3 days with me in person in October at the retreat, right? Now, let me say this. The reason I say you have a small window of opportunity, everyone listen here, this is what happens. Everyone gets bags on teenagers. Oh, since they become a teenager, overnight they change, and things like this do happen, but I want to share with you why. So we have 6 different energy bodies, right? And the 3 lower bodies, so we have our physical body, we have the etheric body, which is our emotional body, our energy body. Everything happens in the etheric before it manifests into the physical. And then we have what's called our astral body, and the astral body houses the lower part of our soul. Okay, there's 3 parts to our actual soul, and the lower part is in the astral body. Now, the astral body, the astral body in a past life becomes the etheric body in this life, which is why we bring in lessons and energies and things that trigger us and whatever in this life. Okay. Now, everything has to happen in the etheric before it manifests in the physical, which is why emotional problems or emotional suppression it always results as dis-ease in our bodies. Some part of our body gets sick or whatever. I don't know if you like Louise Hay or Ina Segal, anyone like that, but you understand the concept of that then, if that's familiar to you, right?
Yes.
That's how it happens. Now, what happens is this. The astral body makes its connection with the etheric body around about between 11 and a half and 13, a bit different for every person. So she's just turned 12, right? So the reason I say you have this small window of opportunity is, and this is why teenagers all of a sudden seem like overnight they just flip a switch and they're this different person. The astral body is the lower part of the soul, and it does house all of our trauma. Trauma doesn't mean you had to be a bad parent and abusive. It just means trauma is just an unmet need. Any need that wasn't met, and by the way, we're not supposed to meet every single need of our children, but every single need that wasn't met is housed in the energy, in the astral body. Now, because it's too much for a little child to know what needs aren't met and it would be a threat to their survival, the astral body isn't connected to the energy body until around about this age, right? And so they don't even know what they're carrying in their energy body, that what trauma is being they don't have any memory of what happened when they were 6 or when they were 8 and you wouldn't buy them an ice cream and they thought you were so unfair that they actually believed in that moment that you didn't love them, for example. Okay. Now, what happens is when they get to this age, and this is why teenagers all of a sudden become emotional and they become angry, and parents are like, why don't you talk to me? Like, what is actually wrong with you? Like, tell me what is happening. Like, this is not you. And the poor teenager is like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling this. But what happens is when their astral body, which is housed all of the energetic memory of everything through their life, and it connects to their etheric body, now they're able to feel everything that they've never processed, because now it's like that body that was holding it is now connected to their etheric body, which is what they feel. And they're like, I don't know why I woke up angry today. I don't know with my cognitive brain that feeling of anger that I woke up with is the anger that I suppressed when I was 5 years old and you didn't buy me an ice cream, or the fear that I suppressed when I was 7 and we were in Target and you went round the corner and I couldn't see you and I thought I was lost for 10 seconds, right? And so all of a sudden, all of this suppressed and unresolved emotion that's held by the astral body, when it connects to the etherical, they feel it all. And this is why I'm saying to you, if you can identify her love language, the true language of her soul, and to the point where you've tested it against everything and you've opened up to possibly it being someone else and you've got that right, if you can get that specifically right and communicate with her through what is her love language for sure, in all the different scenarios when she's in trouble, you've got to be careful. So, for example, a child whose love language is let me give you a harsh example. A child whose love language is, let's say it's words, right? When you're angry with that child, now, I don't advocate smacking, right, at all. But when you're in a moment where you are going to lose your shit with a child and you're going to do something, you're either going to say something mean and nasty that you wish you never said, or you're going to lose your shit and tug their arm and, squeeze their arm and give them a smack or something. With a child whose love language is words of affirmation, for example, you are better if you're losing your shit to smack that child than you are to say something that will sit in the base of their soul for they will never forget the day you said that one thing, because that is the language that they use to receive love by. The smack they'll forget about, but the touch child, you can call them a name. You can say the most nasty, mean thing, but you'd be like, I can't believe I said that to my child. Like, I'm crying all week because of what I said last week. But if that's not their love language, that barely touches them. It doesn't get held by their energy body. But you smack that child, you squeeze that child's arm, you shove them and push them, that violates their highest need, right? And then there's it goes for every single love language, right? You give silent treatment to a child whose love language is quality time, and you're going to injure their soul. Like, it's the worst thing you can do to a child whose love language is quality time. Say, just get away. I don't want to talk. Go. Don't talk to me. We'll talk. I don't want to see you right now. That kills that child's spirit. So it like, love languages are necessary in all areas of life, not just how to love them. And sometimes what causes the child to change how they like adapt their love language isn't how we were loving them. It was unbeknowingly how we were accidentally unloving them, because parents quite often can go, okay, I'll give my child this love language and I give my child this love language. But when it comes to discipline, they discipline all their children the same way. Everyone gets yelled at. Everyone gets, time out or whatever it might be. And that is very hurtful to one child, and the next child doesn't give a shit. Does that make sense? So there's all of this to understand about love languages, so that she's not violated. So all I'm saying to you is it's not too late. Like, she's almost at a perfect age where if you can get that specifically right, because there's something going on here as a communication, you also need to have some boundaries around this. And it's easy. It's that love is used for love, not for manipulation. And so I have asked you to do something, and you ask me for a hug, and you can say, hey, right now, we are not, like, I love you, but right now I will not allow myself to be, to have love used against me. I have asked you to do the dishes. I would love to hug you. I love hugging you. But no, you aren't getting a hug right now. And if you choose to interpret that as though you're not loved because I didn't give you a hug, then it's okay. You can sit with that, because that is untrue. I love you, but I will not allow anybody to use love as a weapon against me or anyone else. But that comes back to then your own guilt. That what is it in you that makes you feel too guilty, even when you know she's using that as a way to procrastinate? To be honest, she's actually disrespecting you. But because she's not doing it in a back chat way, because she's doing it in a I just want a hug way, it's still a manipulation.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, she says, yeah, it gives me a guilt feeling, because how can I deny a hug or a kiss or something to my child? And it's just my only child as well, so that weighs a little bit heavier, I guess.
Yeah, I get it.
And then she says in a very cute way, where you hardly can resist. So she knows how to play with that too. And then I think, okay, a little bit, but a little bit is never enough. And
right.
And then I give her, let's say, 3-4 minutes. And in that 4 minutes, I'm thinking, okay, how much can I give her? When do I stop it? And I can't even enjoy it. So my energy is probably not 100% there.
And then you've got this very incongruent energy, and it's not love anyway, because you offer that hug with resentment or with guilt. And that is not love, because love is a freedom. Love is an absolute choice. That's not, I feel like I should and I feel like I have to. That's the energy of that is not love anyway. Does that make sense? What you're actually doing is using each other. So she's using you for power, and she's manipulating. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm just like being blunt about it, right? But you are also using her, because you're like, oh, I don't like feeling the feelings that I get when I think I might not be a good mum, or that I might hurt your feelings. So I'm just going to give you what you need so that I don't feel like I don't feel what I don't like feeling. So to avoid my own feelings and to avoid my own, leaning into my own boundaries and all of this, I'm just going to like try to appease. So you're people pleasing her, which feeds the cycle. Now, I know you love her, but where you've got this, like mixed up in your mind is that you are confusing a hug with love. You are literally defining love as the hug, as the, yes, you can control me. Anytime you want me, I can be there and give you what you need. You know what? I actually have needs too. And what I need right now is I need the dishes done. I need whatever it is packed up. This is what I need. Okay. And I love it. And so you can do this in a fun way with her. When she says, be's all cute about, you can go, gosh, you kill me. You're so cute. Can you hurry up and do that? Because I do want to give you a hug, but I am not giving you a hug before that's done. So hurry up, please, because I actually want to hug you. You can have fun with it and just be like, no, I'm not. No, no hugs. I love you. No hugs. Get that done. And let's do hugs in a space where you can really receive the hug because you're not using it just to get out of doing this for 5 minutes. And I can give it to you freely because I want to, not because I'm feeling like, oh gosh, I have to give you a hug right now because I need you to clean up. I don't want to do love with you that way. We love each other anyway. Whether I hug you right now or not, you know I love you, right? Okay, so do not use love against me as a way to get out of your chores. We're not doing these conversations anymore. This is not healthy because she will take these patterns and she will use them to manipulate her partners. Not because it's her fault, because this is how she's learned to relate. This is how she's learned to use her cuteness and this I need a cuddle as a way to manipulate and control somebody. And I don't think she has any malicious intent, by the way. She sounds like the most sweetest, beautiful girl. But ultimately, on a deeper level, this is how she's learning. I can use love or the idea of love to get what I need, but that is not even love. And if she's even associating that with love, I also think potentially she could have acts of service as her love language. And that hug that she's asking for is something that is actually more an act of service. Like, can you give something to me that I'm looking for so that I can get out of what I need to do for 5 minutes? But she's worked out, and this is probably way back earlier as a child, that you absolutely respond to the idea of, can you give me a hug? You know why? Because when she asks you that question, it hits your wound, and that wound gives you guilt, and you are owned when you're in your guilt. So she's worked out like the energy I get from my mom whenever she wouldn't even consciously know that it's guilt that she's feeling from you. But that is a weak energy. That energy is stopping you from having any boundary or any firmness and any safety in your love.
Could be, but I mean, she says a lot of times during the day, "Oh, Mom, I love you," or just out of the blue, where I'm surprised myself
Right.
that how often she does it.
Yeah.
And
like she's trying to like prove to herself that she loves you, or do you think that she's doing that to get you to say it back to her? What do you think her intentions are?
yes, it crosses my mind as well. Sometimes I do it. It's not really my personality. I didn't grow up with that, just to say it that often,
Yeah.
or at all, not like that. So she triggers something in me automatically to remind me once, on one side, that I don't say it often to her, and secondly, it triggers to me the opposite. I have never said it to my mom. My mom passed away 20 years ago, and I'm very aware of that too. So
It's beautiful,
it
Sylvie.
is a really
This
weird
is a very
situation for me. So it's almost a reminder. I missed it on my mom. Should I give it at least to my child?
huge. This is beautiful. And because you missed it from your mum, it's like at a subconscious level, you're not intentionally consciously doing this, but it's like you're looking to like make up for it through your daughter, right? And you don't want to miss any chance to make sure your daughter knows that she's loved, because on some level, probably because you were never told it, you questioned whether or not you were loved. And maybe now as an adult, you're like, I know I was loved. I know my mom loved me. I know my dad, I know my parents loved me. They did the best they could. And we know that when we become adults and we're logical about it, and we know that our parents do the best they can. But it doesn't change the fact that in the moment when you are 10 years old, 15 years old, 25 years old, and you just need to hear that you're loved, and maybe they weren't words people, and maybe words is one of your love languages or something, like you needed that. They weren't able to love you in your language. no matter how much you can understand that now that they did the best they could and you know you were loved, the feeling that you lived with potentially was that you wondered how loved you were, or if you were loved. And if they loved me, why wouldn't they say it?
But the funny thing is, for me, it's more service, because I want the job done. Let's say do the dishes, and she's not doing it, so I feel like unloved. But
Yeah.
she says then, "Oh, Mom, I love you," and that's not really my thing, because look, everyone likes to hear it. Don't get me wrong, but it's weird that she gives it to me as a child, what I actually needed it from my parents, right? So
I get
it's
it.
a little bit weird around,
So the little child in you wants to just take what you can whenever you can get it. I fully get that. Like, I'll take love whenever I can. But it's perfectly okay for you to go, hey, we're not doing love right now. Okay, we're doing chores right now. We do love after this. Okay, no love and chores at the same time. You tell her, I don't know if you know, but I went and got myself a parenting coach. I've signed up to something, and I want to be better. I want to be it doesn't mean I'm not a good mom. I just, anywhere I can be better, I want to be better. And I want to show up differently for you, so that you've got different examples in your life that program you to be more healthy in your relationships. Because I grew up feeling like I wasn't loved, and that made me get to a point where I craved love, and I took love however I could get it. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be so knowing, so deeply rooted that you are truly loved, that you don't need to hear a million I love yous to know it. You don't need to have a million hugs for you to know you are loved. That those are great things, but they're not what you need to know that you're loved. Make sense?
Yeah.
It might take, just sit with that, just let it process. I definitely, if you can, I definitely urge you to join the actual program, so that you can watch all these videos, and then you'll come up with more questions. You can bring them to the call. You can post them in the Facebook group, during the week. You don't even have to wait for Tuesday. Post it in the group and you'll get answers. Right. So I definitely would encourage you to do that, because I think once you watch all the love, I reckon you're going to sit there and watching love language and being like, I think this is her. Oh my gosh, she's this. And then you go to the next love language and be like, oh my gosh, half of those are probably her. Like you'll see that what you thought was all touch isn't actually. And I think we're missing her. I think we're missing her biggest love language, because your true love language sustains you. It absolutely fills your bucket to the point where you literally don't need anything. Like, I mean, you always like it, don't get me wrong, but like when it starts getting empty after a while, you definitely need a top up. But it's not like this like constant, I love you, I love you, I love you. It's almost like a weakness, if that makes, like that energy is quite weak around love. It's not a strong conviction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be open to it. Okay. You don't have to say it's not touch. I would just like you to go through and validate that it is touch. And I have a very strong feeling.
I think there's always a mixture of two, at least. It's never one alone.
One is the dominant. The second one is quite close behind. And the other three are basically irrelevant. So yes, we do have two love languages. And there will be one dominant one, like let's say one that's like, like 70%, the other one's 28%, and 2% is all the three put together. Like, don't really care. Nice of you to buy me. I'm not a gifts person, but if you buy me a gift, I absolutely love it. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the thought. You could buy me 1 billion gifts and my love bucket still won't be full, but I absolutely love the effort that you might have made. Doesn't mean I don't love the flowers you give me, but it's not what lights me up. You write me a letter, you write me a card, you put a comment on my Facebook page or something like that, and you use your words, and I'm like, that does more for me than 200 bunches of flowers. Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean you don't like the other love languages. It just doesn't fulfill you or sustain you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good. Thank you very much.
And yeah, Shara just said over in the comments, I don't know if you got the comments, she said the understanding the I'm sorry language was the defining moment for her to understand her children's love language, because you can't just look at how they try to get love. Okay, she tries to get love like that. Let me weigh that up against the unlove and against the I'm sorry language. Because if she's showing one love over here to be loved, but then when she's actually sorry, she comes at me in a different way, you know, she writes me a letter rather than coming out and giving me a cuddle or whatever, that's like, okay, I can see the very consistent pattern when it comes to them being sorry. Because that's a huge clue. That's the essence of our own heart looking to reconnect with someone that we actually love and want connection back with. And our love language is predominant language that we use when we feel like we need to make it up to someone. Okay, it's a really big clue. No worries, darling. Good to meet you.
Nice.
All right, Miss Shara, it is your turn, darling.
Am I muted?
You're unmuted. It's nice to see you, darling.
I know I've been off the calls and it shows.
It's good to know. It's good to
Yeah.
know. You know, you feel the difference when you're
Yes,
calls and not.
absolutely. I've had this week off to try and sort myself out and sort the kids out, and they've been sick. But yeah, I had a episode last week.
Yes.
Back to the 2022, like 2022 version of me.
Right.
And it was not pretty to have to look at myself in the mirror and go, you've moved past this. Why are we back here? It was the people pleaser, the doing everything for everyone else, and then thinking, like, I loved the thrill, the challenge. I loved to succeed at work. But when you're doing so much that you're not actually doing a good job because you're doing, like, I'm going into my squirrel mode. And then because my focus was so intent in my work, I really let things slip at home. And yeah, like,
and we know what that does to you. Like, we know
yes,
that when you are out of alignment with your presence with your children,
yeah,
that's gonna blow your world up, you know, within.
it can happen so quickly for my kids, obviously.
Mhm.
And it's they've been okay. Like, they've been behavior wise, they've actually been really great.
Yep.
But sickness wise, they've crashed really badly.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to, like, even through the school holidays, the boys were home. I was still trying to work from home while the kids were home. And we had activities planned and things like that, but they were still home. And my patience, like, I really resonated with Bernadette the first call, because same, I would fritz out and I'd be like, guys, quiet, mommy's trying to concentrate.
Yeah.
And they don't need that from me. It's not their fault.
Mhm.
But, you know, like, obviously my regulations were totally off. I was not conscious at all. And I kept reminding myself at night, that guilt trip after you've had one of those really busy days and you're like, I had to push Byron quite a bit and say, I'm so sorry, can you hold the fort? I've really got to get through this work. If I can just get through this week and, like, work harder and get through all of these really complex cases that I'm on, if I can just move past them, I'll free myself up and it won't be as bad. The next week, it's a ton of bricks again.
Yeah. And I saw what you said about how, you know, you got your work done faster and then they just give you more work. So number one, I mean, that's your people pleasing showing up, because all that needed was a boundary, right?
Yes.
And that's really unfair that they do that to you. And it is not your responsibility to take on the burden of any company you work for. I don't care what situation they're in business. That's the deal. They need to organize other staff. They can't overload you. But if you allow it, I mean, you teach people how to treat you, right? And so if you allow it, then why wouldn't they, right? So here's the thing. When I read all of that, just to be really straight up with you, and we know each other very well, and you've been to Happy to Whole, and you know, you've been in this program 2 years or whatever, right? Listen, this isn't a kid's problem or even a parenting thing. It's just a Shara place, right?
Yeah.
Now, I have a very easy and a very not so easy answer for you. The answer is this. The second I read it, and also with what I know about you, I know your level of commitment and discipline, that the minute you get onto something, it's like done. Like when you get to your breaking point or you draw a line in the sand and you flip that switch, we know how epically, amazingly you show up, right? And that's all that's needed here. It's just the shift. And that's why it's eating you up inside, because not only have you let that slip, your family is your highest value, and that's been the price. That's who's paid the price, and that hurts your heart because that is out of alignment with your complete essence, right? So the short answer is this: the absolute answer is that you need to learn, you need to watch my Balance Your Life like workshop, right? It's a 2-hour workshop. Now, it's in the conscious community and you can get the replay. You're not in the conscious community, are you?
I think I had to come out of it only because we're doing renovations and our loan. We had to remove all extra accounts, but I've got the loan now, so that's fine. I just had to clear all the
I legit don't care if you join for 1 month and you cancel. You need to go spend $24 like tonight so that you can get back in that community, $24, and that will give you a month. If you don't want to pay next month's subscription, cancel it before then, right? Log in, turn it off, right? $24. You need to go straight to, I reckon it was just before, it was either February or March last year.
I think I've watched it, but maybe I just need to go back and revisit because I've been watching some of the soul ones.
You haven't done the exercise of it, okay? So the easy thing is go watch Balance Your Life because that's a 2-hour answer, okay? The hard part of this is, I mean, if you use that commitment that we know you have and you do balance your life and you actually do the exercise, this will never be a conversation between us again. Now, it doesn't mean you won't get out of alignment again, and doesn't mean you won't, get yourself in a kerfuffle again, but every single time you do, you will always have the instantaneous, I know how to get out of this. I know. And even while you're in it, sometimes you'll be like, okay, I know I need to get out of this, but I also need to finish off the week. So I don't feel as much pressure with having to get out of this situation now because I know that I can the second I go over and do what I know I'm supposed to do. But the balancing your life thing is phenomenal. And it's not, remember, it's not about, we do this at Purpose Retreat every year, right? You need to come next year. I missed you this year, right?
Honestly.
All right. But it's the key to this. It's not making a schedule. Okay. And sometimes if you've watched it and you haven't watched it all, or you've been distracted, or people get the wrong impression. It's not about making a timetable going, I'm doing this at this time and this at this time and this at this time. Like no life runs on that kind of schedule, particularly in this.
Just can't, especially in my work.
Exactly.
My work is telling me I should run a schedule. I'm like, tell me someone crying on the phone talking about the most horrible time of their life, and I've got to go, 20 minutes are up, sorry, bye.
Exactly.
I can't do that.
And so it's not about running on a schedule. It's about having time blocks that are every single day constantly interchangeable with each other. But blocks get swapped, but they never get replaced. So if you had, I was going to do this with the kids here, but now I've got to do more work, right? Okay, no worries. Put the kids over here where you had work and put work over. Go ahead and do your work, but you swap that with another block where you had work or you had something else and you do the kids there, so that you know anytime you're giving something your attention, that the other important priorities in your life, because remember, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any. And so this is all about working out those 3 priorities as well, okay? And so it is like for this period of time, for the next 30 days, these are my 3 priorities. Doesn't mean I can't do other things. It means if anything clashes, these 3 things take precedence. These are the instant yeses, and the other things are maybes or nos. And I give myself permission to say no to something that clashes with one of these 3 priorities over this period of time I've given myself, 30 days, 90 days, whatever you choose. You do it for periods of time, okay? And within that time, it doesn't mean you keep a schedule. It means you maintain the balance at the end of a week. I don't care what you did today. At the end of a week, your kids still got 12 hours of your time. Your partner got 4 hours of your time. Your work got 45 hours of your time. Your health and your fitness and your, attention you give yourself got 4 hours of your time. At the end of a week, the balance was still there, even though this was a full shit work day. This was a crazy day here, and I didn't get time with the kids until this day. Like that's how you truly balance your life. And that doesn't mean every day has to be balanced. Life has to be balanced. Okay. every one of your answers. And I kid you not, when you go in the conscious community, actually look up, you know, Sarah Pacquiano from this program. Go in the conscious community, and when you get in the group, type in balance your life and look at Sarah Pacquiano's post. So one day she joined, she wasn't on that workshop, she watched the replay. You got to read her post, and she put up an image of when she blocked.
I remember it. I do remember it. Honestly,
like,
I think
I
was like,
I waited
do
so
that.
long to do this. Oh,
yeah, I'll do that
her
next time.
empowerment was through the. She's like, I literally instantly feel like I actually have time, more time than I ever imagined to have for everything I want in my life. I actually do have the time. So the first thing it does is it breaks that bullshit story we tell ourselves, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. We don't have time problems. Nobody has a time problem. The only problem we ever have is a priority problem. You can't manage time. There is no such thing as time management. You don't get to manage an hour. The clock ticks second by second until it's done so enough times that it's an hour. You don't get to manage the tick of the clock. You only get to manage what you do within the time that the clock is ticking. And that comes down to your values, your alignment, your boundaries, and your ability to, you know, block yourself and to know your priorities. That's the only problem we have. No one has money problems and no one has time problems. The only problems we have are priority problems that show up in our finances, that show up in our time, that show up in our family, but they are not the problem. Ever. You know that, right? You know, I'm giving you a little bit of a holy slap right here for just a little moment.
I need it. That's why I was like, Holly, you taught me. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I literally was out, like I was in my underwear because I was like, I'm doing it now. I heard like all of these messages about the full moon tonight and how it's a transformative full moon. So go out and, you know, speak your mantra or, you know, do your chants or whatever. I was literally out in my underwear in my backyard. I was like, I got to stand in grass. I'm going to look at the moon. I'm going to go full holy moment. I'm just going to go, I release this feeling that I have to do everyone else's work and I'm responsible for a whole corporation's level of shit show that they've created for themselves. Not my responsibility.
Yes.
And I am allowed to heal.
And you are allowed to go out. If you want mantras for the moon, you say, I take back the power. Literally, what I want you to do, an energy thing you can do.
I'll go back out there after this. Sure. Yeah.
You go, another thing for you to watch right now, particularly because of the moon, if you go to this January, it was just before Purpose Retreat, and we had Shana Pierce, who is the kinesiologist, and she was the guest speaker that month. And it's called The Anatomy of Your Vibrational Field, right? She's a kinesiologist and she went through the anatomy of our vibrational fields. But in that, she taught this beautiful, amazing mantra, which was about basically just calling back all the energy that is yours and that belongs to you, that you have left out there in fragments and pieces in other people's lives, taking responsibility for them.
Yeah, I need to take that back.
All that back.
Cool, bang.
And you release anything from your energy field that doesn't belong to you. So you call back in everything that is yours and that does belong to you. And you release in this full moon what does not belong to you, that you are and you have chosen to carry on behalf of the company, your boss, your husband, whoever else, anyone else. Hand that back to everybody. Take back what you're supposed to carry that you've left out there in fragments, which is why you're feeling like you're in pieces right now. Okay. And the first thing is, I have time for everything. I absolutely have time. Everything that's important for me, I have time for it. I have time for everything that's important to me. So the question is, when I feel like I don't have time, it's not, oh, why don't I have time? The question is, what am I making important to me right now? If I feel like I don't have time, what is it that I'm making important that if I was to sit and align myself, I'm like, that shit is not important. The reason I don't have time is I'm making something that's not important to me a priority. And because of that, it takes up a lot of space, not just its usual space. If it doesn't align with you, it takes up more space for you to hold something that doesn't align with you.
Yeah.
Yeah? You're intending to come to Happy to Whole again this year?
Yes. I actually need to get another invoice because my NDIS plan's all back up and running. So
yeah, no worries. Okay, yeah, perfect. Reach out and let us know, because I'm just like, with what you went through last year, the beautiful shifts you had, bringing that into this year, as well as whatever's been going on for you that's had you a bit disengaged the last few months or whatever, and life has felt like a lot. No problem, no judgment or whatever. But all of that would be beautiful for you to come in and do a big reset. The second time, you've heard it from lots of people, the second time is like so much, it's not even close to the first experience. It's a very different experience. Yeah, I think, it would be great to just put you back and just like bathe you and let you marinate for 3 days in the environment that just, I remember you like in the group, like the week later, going through the drive-through, like singing your song, like that, and like
yeah, I
that
can see
video,
that song.
like the highlight of the week that week. I was like, oh my God, I just wanted to like pop along with you. It was so cool. Yeah, like look at you, like that's the Shara, like that is
Yeah.
Shara in her place, in her power, can
Yeah.
handle the world, like that's her. So
Fuck yeah.
yeah,
I
just
just tend to fall into the empath, people pleaser, toxic label for myself, and then I keep forgetting that I don't have to be that person anymore. And yeah, I think it is a good wake up call to coming into your calls, and then I hear all these stories and go, I've been hearing these things. Why isn't it sticking in my own brain? And it's all very well for me to comment on other people, like, hey, I've tried this and I've tried it all, believe me. But it's so frustrating when I have tried it all, and then someone will go, hey, what about this? I'd be like, oh yeah, my OT said to do that. Shit, I should be doing the same thing. And literally every comment that you were saying before about the people pleaser, I was like, fuck, that's me.
That's what we do. This is what we love about you. You own it. You can sit with the confronting shit. You own it like an absolute boss, and that gets you realigned. Okay. I'm really feeling, go and look at you 100%. I'm forcing you. You got to go do that.
Doing it. I'll do it right now. Thank you.
Listen, don't just watch it. Do
No, I will.
Okay.
I've got the time now to do it. Yes, I need to actually do it.
Do it. You will instantly have an energy shift that will just be like this vortex that just like sucks all the great things back into your life, realigns you, and you're just back to who you really are. It's fucking the best. Okay, go and do that, and I think you'll probably get some really good value, even if you have to listen to it in parts, like 30 minutes a day or something while you're driving or something. Go and listen.
No, I've got this time off. I specifically, like, my kids are still, they're recovering, but I've taken off until Monday. So I wanted to take this time off to actually hone in exactly on that, my boundaries and my priorities. I was considering leaving the job because I am in a position where we could sell our house, which we're planning to do, buy up something smaller, and I could go back to just doing like a beauty salon, like at the back of my house. Maybe that's my calling. I'm good at what I do, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's good for me. And that's what I'm trying to work out. So go and speak to the moon.
Exactly. Go speak to the moon. Clear. You can't even make a decision while you're carrying shit that doesn't belong to you, because any decision that you feel that you arrive at is done through the filters of what you're carrying. So until you know that you're only carrying your own shit, don't be making decisions right now. Okay. And if you haven't already made the decision and just had a big aha moment, bring that intention to Happy to Hold this October. Make that your intention. Like, what actually do I want to do with my life? What actually is important to me here?
And maybe I should also book on purpose as well, like make them a commitment. But like, every other year it's just not worked out with family needs, but I'll make that decision.
Purpose Retreat, I think we only have 4 spots left, where you get $950 discount and free accommodation, which is worth $500. So it's like about just under $1,500 value. But we only do that for the first 30 people, and I think we've got 26. I'm doing this from memory, but I'm pretty sure we've got 26 books.
I'll have a think about it, honestly. Holly, if I want to make that commitment, I need to just pay it out of my own pocket, because NDIS be damned. Like, honestly, it's just something. If I am making the big dollars of working for a corporate company,
and when you pay something out of your pocket, not NDIS, it's a whole different commitment. Like, at a soul level, when you're saying, I'm not like getting this paid for me and all I have to do is show up, when you're saying, I am choosing to make the investment. Like, I'm putting down the hurt money. I'm putting that down as the investment to myself, that I value myself I mean, at the moment, because Purpose Retreat's normally 3,800. So right now you get it for 2,850 plus you'll get free accommodation if you're one of the first 30 people. And that's all. That's no healing work. That is all purpose. What are your values? What's your human design? I mean, every year it's different. We do different topics, but we have kinesiology, we have human design experts, we have subconscious mind experts, we have it's phenomenal. We had 10 guest speakers this year, right? Phenomenal. So that is all. It's not trauma work though. Happy to host trauma work, emotional work, all that kind of stuff. Purpose Retreat is okay. I've cleared my shit. I've got my alignment, all of that. I know to the depth. I've broken generational cycles, blah, blah, blah. Purpose Retreat. What am I doing with my life? What actually matters to me?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to go start a business. You can be in a job. It's not one or the other. It's what's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
two very different retreats. But the reason we run them close together, October and February, is because off the back of coming out of clearing all the shit you've been carrying and the stories you keep telling yourself and blah, 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 extra body work, the ancestral processes that we do. Once you've cleared that, you go into Christmas, you come out of Christmas, you come straight to Purpose Retreat, first week of the year, first week of Feb. It's 31st of Jan, 1st, 2nd of Feb, the Friday's the 31st of Jan and then 1st, 2nd of Feb. So it's the first weekend after school holidays go back every year.
Yeah.
And we do that intentionally with the energy of the new year, the new beginnings, the new birthings, like kids are back at school. I get to focus on my life now. That's why we do it at that time every year.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Clear the shit show that's going on here and
Clear
then
that and come
plan
clean
of attack.
and be like, show me the way. And I don't show you the way. Your soul shows you the way. I just give you a bit of a roadmap. Okay?
Yep.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
All your answers are in Balance Your Life, okay?
Okay, we'll do.
All right, my darling?
Thank you.
No problem. You're very welcome. All right, let me... Elle. Yeah, that's right, Elle. I remember and realize your purpose. So beautiful. So beautiful. Awesome. Yeah, and I see what you're saying, Shelley. Yeah, if you've got a family, look, listen, what I say, and the reason Elle is even saying what she's saying is because I always say, listen, with anything in life, anything, parenting, relationships, finances, careers, success will never be convenient, never. The reason most people don't have the life that they truly can just reach out and grab is because they don't make space for it. They don't make it a high enough priority. It's not that they don't want it any less than the next person. It's that they're waiting for it to be convenient to access. I can't do it here. I can't do it there. And I've already got this book. And so what purpose work and healing work forces us to do every time is prioritize ourselves. And that doesn't mean you have to go change your family holiday, but it's something for you to consider in terms of, is that even a possibility? So sometimes we'll be like, I've got something booked, I just can't. And so it's just loosening the grip on our mind, going, well, it would be annoying, it would be inconvenient, it would be a bit of a hassle to have to organize, but it's an option and I could. I might choose not to. I might choose to not do that, and that's okay. No problem at all. It's no problem at all. But just be conscious of the fact that I always can. I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing to prioritize the family holiday over this. And that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But be in your truth about it. Don't tell yourself, I just can't, because that's not true. We always can. We always can move things around and change priorities. Anything that is a priority gets prioritized. So it's just an awareness thing. And there are lots of people who have had extremely transformational journeys in 3 days, but to be in that room, I mean, they've had to shift heaven and earth. Someone like Elle, and Elle had to travel alone, and she was someone that openly told us, the level of panic and anxiety she would have even just knowing she has to go to an airport, let alone actually get on a plane. So there's lots of things to have to face. And I'm just saying this for all of you, the healing journey, the awakening journey, the journey of purpose, it will never be convenient. Anything that's going to be the most transformational event or person that you needed to meet or, workshop you needed to do or invite you needed to accept, all of those things will never show up. Oh yeah, I'm free that day. It will never happen. Okay. And when we realize that, and that it only happens when we prioritize it and we shift everything else around our highest calling or what we're really resonating with, that the people who live in that space are the ones that you see with, you know, with the lives that they want, all right? And it's the same with parenting. You guys are all prioritizing showing up here. You could be like, oh, my kids aren't in bed, and you know, I do something else on Tuesday nights, and my kid has netball, but look at you. You're all here. Yeah. You probably had other things you could do, but you made this a priority. And that's why your parenting will improve over the person who signed up 3 months ago and has never been on a call yet. Oh, I don't have time. Well, you actually do. It's just you haven't prioritized being on the call. That's all. It's just priorities. All right. And I know it's never comfortable to have these conversations and to hear them. We're like, oh, I don't want to hear that because I don't feel bad. But this is the journey of consciousness. Yeah. Nothing's ever wrong. Make whatever choice feels right for you, but just be truthful with yourself about what you are choosing, because you can have it all and you do get to choose. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, CL every single retreat, right? Like you had something stopping you from happy to whole. Then you had, I remember you saying, you know, something that you really wanted to do was like plan for a baby and all that. And that purpose retreat was going to interrupt potentially that process, because, you know, how can you get pregnant if you're not with your husband when you're ovulating and all these kind of things? And this is big things, right? And then there's the relationship retreat. Yep. Like that you're coming to next weekend. I can't believe it's next weekend. Beautiful. All right. Amazing, deep conversation tonight. What a deep call. Thank you for all of you for holding space, for listening in, and for asking those questions and receiving those deep answers. So I will be back here next Tuesday. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can use the Facebook group. Remember, you can always go to the search bar in that group. All of the replays are posted in the group. So this replay will be posted there tomorrow. But if at any time you're laying awake, you know, at midnight and you're like, I wish I could ask somebody, or I wish I could, you know, watch something, go to our group, type in the search bar, any topic, type in teenagers, type in toddlers, type in tantrums, back chatting, self-esteem, you know, the conversations I've had tonight, I always hashtag them life lessons. So if you type in life lessons, anytime I've done a deep conversation like this, where you use an opportunity to give your children lessons on life, like plant seeds for big life lessons, that's always hashtagged as life lessons. So if you like this kind of conversation, go look up that. So in the meantime, in between Zoom calls, if you want more help, I mean, there are 4 years worth. So there's like over 200 replays available that you can watch in there, not including all the posts that always get hashtagged. All right. So you can always get a lot of information from the Facebook group as well as the videos inside the portal. Yeah. All right, beautiful people. Well, I love you and leave you, and I'll see you next Tuesday. I'll see you next Tuesday. That's not a really good thing to say, is it? All right.